Hey, everybody, welcome back. Another edition of Agree to Disagree. I'm your host today, Noah Schwartz, alongside the whole gang, Aidan Chard, Dean Gutic, Jack Acello. Boys, what's up?
Not much. How's it
Going
going?
on?
Crazy weekend. We got a lot of college football that we saw. We've got a new president, most likely. We saw some NFL things happen. So, a lot going on. Let's get right into it. We've got some NFL things we want to talk about. We'll do a little college football, as I said, and then I will do my all-time Lakers team after Jack did his all-time Mets team a week ago. So let's begin with what was the biggest storyline of yesterday out of the NFL. The New Orleans Saints just beat the living you-know-what out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football, 38-3.
I just kicked my dad's space heater accidentally.
Ooh.
But
Aidan, yeah, let me start with you because you got the Steve Gleason jersey on, and I know you are thrilled about last night.
That's definitely an understatement. That was, far beyond. Dean and I went live right after the game, so you can check that out on our Instagram. You can see my instant reactions to it and Dean's instant reactions. But man, that was way ahead of anything that I was possibly expecting. I was going into this game, we won the last matchup and it wasn't particularly close. So I was going into this game saying, we're going to win. The Saints are easily going to win. We're the better team. We look better.
Called it.
But I was not expecting a blowout. The Saints scored 3 times. The Saints had 21 points before Tom Brady had a first down. And this was not only best case scenario for the Saints. I mean, it showed really who's the boss in the division. It's the Saints that all but clinches the division for them unless they lose out. And that's big for the NFC right now because all of the NFC, the elite teams in the NFC have struggled. But even more so for personal reasons for me, I cannot stand Tom Brady. I hate him. He sucks. He's not the greatest quarterback of all time.
You're talking to 3 AFC East.
Okay,
Aidan,
fair.
it's a little
I don't
surprising considering you say you're a
Boston
Boston guy.
I am a Boston guy, and I do love the Patriots, and I did love them when he was on there, but I hated him, and it's probably because I'm a Saints fan. But watching Tom Brady struggle that badly, throw some of the worst interceptions I've ever seen him throw against a secondary that's pretty garbage against most other teams. The Bucs couldn't get a big play. Every single team, the Chargers, the Panthers, the Falcons are going to get big plays against us when we play them. And the Bucs have one of the most talented offenses in the league. So I don't want to hear any more of this, Tom Brady's going to Tampa so he can get a ring. He's not. He thought he was, but he forgot that he actually had to play a real division this year. Yes. No offense to you guys.
No, take
but the Jets, Bills, and Dolphins did not put up a fight.
We love this.
And watching him do so terribly, especially when I spent the entire offseason saying he's washed up, the Bucs aren't going to make the postseason. This team is not as good on the field as they are on paper. It's affirming that for me, which would make me look like less of an idiot. So thank you, Saints. Steve Gleason, you were the man. That was a lot, but that's what I got to say.
First place, baby.
I feel
first place in the entire NFC.
Because
Aidan.
Now I must say, after last week, I feel silly because I was the one. As much as before I go into this, let me say I'm happy. Aidan knows this. This season I've picked the Saints a lot, and I want them to win. I like the Saints.
You have, yeah.
I have rooting for the Saints, but I did not think that I gotta say this season the Bucs have really showed me something. Their defense before last night, you can honestly say they look like a top 3 defense, and then when you see those weapons. He's honestly has, you can argue now with Antonio Brown, he has 3 number 1 receivers, and Gronkowski has been starting to find his game. And before last night, Tom Brady was playing at an MVP level. I think going into that game, he was at 19 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. I really thought they were true contenders at that point, but last night they fell off. They dropped the tier. I thought they were in tier 1. They are definitely in tier 2. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. Like last night, they held the 2 seed before losing to that game. I think the Saints are now the 2 seed in the NFC.
They're the 1 seed.
Oh, they're the 1 seed? Oh, yeah, Seattle.
Because the Packers have played 1 less game.
And
there's 3 6-2 teams, though, so it's all just tiebreakers now.
But I mean, I'm happy about this. Both these teams, I had a little bit of question marks because even though they've been soft for the most part, both their losses, they made you raise an eyebrow. The Saints loss to the Packers is ugly. The Bucs, their losses were not pretty. So it was a big question mark. But the Saints clearly show they're the best team in that division. I got to say, K'Wan Alexander, he's going to bring something new to that defense. They have two very solid linebackers now with him and Demario Davis. I think that's going to give him a big edge in the playoffs now. And also Michael Thomas being back. I don't even know he only what do you have?
He didn't have a big game, but the
but I
fact
felt
that
like
he was back.
His presence opened up so much more for everybody.
Exactly. Emmanuel Sanders is a fine receiver. He's not a number one.
He's a number two. That's what he's meant to be.
Exactly. Michael Thomas getting back out there is not about getting him the ball. Yes, it's great to be able to hit him on the routes that he's so reliable on. I'm not going to say slant routes because he doesn't just run slant routes. But getting him out there, drawing the coverage away from Sanders, that leaves Tre'Quan Smith open, that leaves Sanders open, it leaves Callaway open. We have some great receivers, and then the tight ends played phenomenally this week too. I mean, we had two tight ends catch a touchdown, and then Taysom Hill lines up at the tight end position a ton. He looked great. Jared Cook had a solid game, so it was a good game to watch.
Yeah, Aidan, I just wanted to say to you, watching that game, not only did this show the Bucs need to work on some things, and many things. Although the Bucs, I still think, are a decent team. The Saints showed who was superior. The Saints showed that they are legit, that they proved their worth. They showed their worth last night. Marshawn Lattimore once again locking up Mike Evans.
On a pretty iffy season too. Lattimore has not had a great season.
Trey Hendrickson, who brought out the receipts to Bruce Arians.
Trey Hendrickson was awesome last night, Dean.
Yeah, he brought out the receipts.
Third place in the league in terms of total sacks. 7.5.
Did you hear what Bruce Arians even said before the game? He's a pretty easy guy to block. He came out swinging and got 2 sacks on the Buccaneers. The Bucs looked just not even close to a Buccaneer team.
But also part of this wasn't a surprise to me. No one knows. Last night we saw the true defensive genius.
Oh, Todd Bowles? Oh, good.
We saw the true defensive genius.
Oh, stop it, Jack. Oh, God.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The Bucs got a solid defense. They got guys like Antoine Winfield, Shaq Barrett, but the Saints are just a better team, and they're a very legit team.
They didn't have Vita Vea.
No, what I think was super interesting last night, though, was how the Saints just got off to this great start, and what we kind of thought about the Bucs was they're very mentally tough, right? They have Brady as a great leader. They've got a lot of veterans on their defense, and you kind of thought that they took that first punch and then they would punch right back. And we saw them sort of do that when Jared Cook fumbled at the 2-yard line, because this game it should have actually been 38-0 at halftime, not 31-0 if Cook didn't fumble.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought when he did that and the Bucs got the ball back, that was a game changer. I thought, they can go down and score. They're going to be right back in the game. This thing will remain close. And for some reason, they just didn't have the fight in them last night to get back in the game at any point and just let the Saints run all over them for 3.5 hours. I mean, it was really eye-opening, and that really stood out to me, that they just never seemed to punch back or show any sort of resistance. That really, not only does it worry me if you're a Bucs fan just in terms of the talent perspective, but just are they mentally tough enough to hang with these other teams in the NFC? It seemed like they were when they beat Green Bay, but maybe they're not. I don't know.
Not to mention the Bucs' first 4 to 5 possessions. Sorry, Aidan. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. They could not get anything going in Tampa Bay.
And then their fourth drive went first down and then interception.
Yep.
Right. And there were drops and stuff. I think Gronkowski had a couple of drops. There was the one play where Brady overthrew him on the deep pass.
Yeah.
They just didn't look sharp at all, and they never seemed to lock in and get any sort of momentum going their way. Obviously, the game was over at halftime, but they had chances in the first quarter or so to make sure that they didn't fall down 21-0 or 28-0, and they just never took advantage of any of those chances they had.
I want to give 2 quick shout outs. First, Tristan Wirfs, the rookie, he was matched up against Cam Jordan again for the second time this season. He's had some difficult matchups, but Cam Jordan, he held him to no sacks, no tackles even. And that's great for a rookie against one of the best DNs in the league. And then the other one, what?
I was like, Mekhi Becton's better. No, I'm joking.
I mean, he's pretty good too, but
nice job, Giants.
The other one is the only person on one of the major networks that picked the Saints in this game. ESPN all picked the Bucs. NBC all picked the Bucs. NFL Network, they all picked the Bucs. The one person who picked the Saints, Cynthia Freeland.
Who?
Cynthia Freeland.
Oh, yeah.
The NFL Network, and she's also the only person who doesn't make her picks based off of gut instinct. She makes her picks based off of math, who the math says is going to win. And that shows you can't pick against these Saints because it doesn't matter who's favored. The Saints should have been favored in this game anyways.
Couldn't have had a better breakout game if you're the Saints at a better time.
Yeah. And who do they play next week, Aidan?
San Francisco.
Oh, so they've got a great chance to go to 7-2 and really start to get to momentum building.
The only team I can currently see legitimately beating us
is Kansas City,
the
right?
Chiefs.
Yeah, because they play like week 15, I think.
We play week 14, I think.
Week 14, okay.
But other than that, week 15, sorry, you were right. Other than that, we got 3 divisional games, and then the Niners, Broncos, Eagles, and Vikings.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say
we could probably win all but maybe one of those games. I get worse.
Yeah, you can definitely.
I think the Saints now, because we've talked about this too. The NFC is very flawed. I mean, it's not like the AFC where there's a lot of great teams up there. You got the Packers, but they've got major holes. The Seahawks have major holes. The Cardinals are too young. Can you say that the Saints look like the favorite? I mean, I know they flamed out in the playoffs a bunch of times, but right now they look like they might be the best team. And last night was a true statement, I think. I don't know about you guys, but they might be the best team in the conference.
They proved that they are legit. They showed their worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's move on. Great game in the late afternoon window yesterday. It was Tua versus Kyler. Really Tua's first game where he had to carry any of the offensive load, considering the week before they just absolutely just won in a rout against the Rams. This week, it was a lot on Tua Tagovailoa, and he seemed to really thrive under that pressure, beating a likely playoff-bound Cardinals team, and now playing Kyler. So what did you guys think in Tua's second start, as he looks to be one of the other rookie star quarterbacks? We've seen it from Herbert, we've seen it from Burrow, but Tua looks like he wants in on that group.
I'll start, I guess. All right. Tua yesterday. It was a big improvement from his first game. His first game, he completely looked flawed and did not look ready whatsoever. Yesterday, sorry, I don't know why I'm stumbling on my words. Yesterday, he played very well. He 248 yards and 2 touchdowns in a solid win. Even though he's doing well and he's trending in the right direction, I still don't think it's smart playing him right now. Just because, like, when you think about it, the Dolphins, there's gonna say they go on a 3-game losing streak. There's a lot of pressure right now on him to win. They have a legit shot at winning this division. They're only one game behind Buffalo, but Buffalo didn't have their bye yet, and the Dolphins did. Right, so they're only one game behind. So they have a legit shot to win this division. And the way their defense is now their defense is stepping up. Their defense has looked great the last 2 weeks. I think Fitzpatrick, who was playing like a top 10 quarterback before they decided to bench him, or top 15 at least.
Fair enough.
But he was playing very solid football. And I honestly think they'd have a legit shot at winning this division if Fitzpatrick was in. With Tua, I don't know, because I just feel he's going to make those rookie mistakes and it's going to cost them. And I think this year, I feel like the Dolphins, they really want to be that team that takes the throne with Brady finally gone, and I don't think Tua gives him the best opportunity to do that. But overall, he did play well, and he did look good.
I agree with parts of that. I also disagree with parts of that. I do agree with you. I don't think that Flores should have benched Fitzpatrick. Yeah. I think that was a terrible choice, and he should have kept Fitzpatrick in. That being said, the gamble has paid off. Tua has played well. Tua has led the team to 2 wins.
Everyone on the team is playing harder, it feels like.
And most importantly, I don't think Fitzpatrick beats the Cardinals. Fitzpatrick throws 3 interceptions a game.
Possibly, yeah.
You know, even just 1 interception turns that game. It was a 3-point game. You know, you give the Cardinals 1 extra chance to score, even on a drive where the Dolphins didn't score. Give them 1 more chance. That flips the game. And so I don't think that Ryan Fitzpatrick would have won that game. That being said, I still don't fully believe in Tua as a franchise player. I say this, you know, you have to take every scrambling quarterback, I think, with a grain of salt. First of all, they're a lot more prone to injuries. We've seen it with basically every big scrambler. outside of Vic and Cunningham. And the other thing is, once the novelty wears off, once teams start to understand how they play, they decline. Again, Cunningham and Vic, a bit of an exception, although Vic missed a lot of years. We're already seeing it with Lamar Jackson this year. We saw it with Russell Wilson. Once teams figured out his legs, he had to switch to his arm, and he adapted and started throwing the ball.
Yeah.
A lot better. But, we're going to see it with Kyler. We're going to see it with Tua. If you rely on your legs that much, you are not going to be a long-term successful quarterback in the league.
I agree.
Especially if you have a history of injuries.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Tua played a great game yesterday. And the Dolphins are honestly better than what their record says they are. They were close against the Pats week 1. They were close against Buffalo week 2. They were close against Seattle. This is a competitive Dolphins team that will be in, day out. But Tua is bound to make rookie mistakes. Of course, he beat week 1. Like Noah said, he didn't really need to do much. The defense of the Miami Dolphins won them that game. And of course, special teams with a nice punt return. But this week, Tua carried the load. However, like other rookie quarterbacks, I think they're going to be competitive, but I think he's bound to lose and make those mistakes that could cost them. I still think Ryan Fitzpatrick should be the starting quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. This was his team that got taken away this year. However, you got to make risks, and the Dolphins, it's paying off for them so far.
All right, I want to make a couple points. I just want to go off of one thing that Jack said and then kind of build on it a little bit. So, Jack, I heard you say that you think that the Dolphins players are playing harder since Tua came in the game. Is that true?
I think their defense has played the best defense they've played all season.
I agree with you. They've had 2 straight weeks with a touchdown. I think the emotional boost of throwing this kid in there, knowing that he's going to be your quarterback, if everything works out for the next decade plus, is something that those players have really bought into, and it's excited them. That's a great thing. The other thing that I think is really important to mention is this team as a whole, and I didn't think this going into the year. I didn't think this 3 weeks ago. This team is very good. They have a lot of talent, and they're really well coached, and it's all working together. Let me ask you guys a question. If Patrick Mahomes was on the Bengals his rookie year, would he be this good? Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
No,
So I think that it's actually played to Tua's advantage that he's in the game now, because this team is flourishing and playing its best football at this point. He has a lot of support. And I don't think the load he's asked to do too much every week. I think going forward, he'll be asked to throw 200, 250 yards a game, but he's not going to be asked to throw 50 or 60 times like Burrow. And I think that actually helps him out going forward, because he'll be able to learn how to play with a lead and sort of be comfortable in the pocket. And I think it'll actually help him going forward, being able to mature and become a better quarterback. It's actually harder when you have less talent. Look at Sam Darnold, look at other guys. And so this is the best time to have Tua in the game. They're playing great. And it's not going to be too much to ask of a guy who's obviously very talented and has the ability to win games for you. It's just a matter of, can he execute? And so far he has. I think the Dolphins look like geniuses for making the move when they did it. Good job,
Brian Flores definitely looks like a genius for putting him in then. I disagree with the move, but I will not disagree with the fact that it is working. Tua is playing well. Flores looks like a smart guy for doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll just want to say, can we talk for a second about Brian frickin' Flores? Whatever he's doing with this defense, he might be one of the best defensive coaches in history.
He's really turning around that Belichick assistant head coach sort of stereotype. I mean, we've seen it with Patricia and others, but this guy's making it look easy.
Yeah. I just want to say this. Well, Aidan here.
Actually, no, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the biggest thing. The biggest thing, not even just how well the defense is playing. The thing that I appreciate the most about Brian Flores, and you just see this from him. Like, this is what you want to see. Like, you can see the biggest difference between him and Adam Gase. The players buy into him. They believe he's a guy they want to follow. They fight for him. Well, last year, everybody thought going into that year, I think most of us can agree, we all thought the Dolphins were going like 0-16.
Didn't they lose the first game like 60-10 or something?
Yeah, it was 58-10.
Yeah, whatever it was.
And then he bought that team to 5-11. You can honestly say, and this is an interesting point. You could say the Chiefs may not have ended up winning the Super Bowl if the Dolphins didn't win that game, Week 17. The playoffs.
Oh yeah, that totally gave the Chiefs home field.
The Ravens or the Titans that lose to the Niners in the Super Bowl if that happens.
Yep.
Yeah, possibly. Who knows if Tom Brady would even be out of New England right now? Brian Flores, he is getting his players believe in him. They're buying in. He's a leader. That's what you need in head coach more than anything.
He brings the most out of the team.
Yeah, he gets the most out of his players. Like, you look at guys, even though they may not, like last year, they weren't the most talented, but he got the most out of his players. Like, look at the Jets. Adam Gase, he gets nothing out of these guys. You could say everybody's gotten worse.
And then here's the other thing. I just want to say, we talk about Belichick assistant coaches not ever prospering. Why is that? Look at Joe Judge. Look at Matt Patricia. They go into those cultures and they try and make it a Belichick culture.
Yeah.
No, but Joe Judge is working, Aiden. Joe Judge. I live in this town. Everybody here loves Joe Judge. Seriously.
I'm not saying
You can't blame Joe Judge.
Necessarily isn't working yet, but you look and you see them go in and try and recreate Belichick's culture. Maybe Joe Judge is the guy that actually can do it, but it doesn't work for most guys. Brian Flores going down. Brian Flores is doing none of that. Brian Flores is just him doing his thing. And he's just building a team that trusts him. He's building a team that trusts the management, that trusts each other. And that is how you win football games. That's how you build a super team.
All right, so we move on? Or Jack, you want to make a point?
I just want to make one quick point. I like what you said about Joe Judge. I do agree with you. I haven't heard as much about Joe Judge maybe as you have, but I do say this about one thing. The biggest difference you see about the Giants, even though they're still losing this year, all their games are competitive.
Yes. And Daniel Jones has made strides.
Game. You can honestly say they. Yeah, possibly you've seen some improvement in him. He's still making like costly turnovers. Like, a lot of these losses are on him, but obviously it's fixable. Obviously, it's
over the last 2 weeks, Daniel Jones has looked like a completely different player.
Yeah,
I think Daniel Jones.
This season as a whole,
I don't think Daniel Jones is going to be an elite quarterback. I think he's going to be like Eli. If the team around him is good, I think he can be a good quarterback.
Joe Judge is a blue-collar coach. I wouldn't judge him too much from the Patriots tree because it's the situation that he's in, the cards he's dealing with. However, he's a worker.
Yeah, no. And also, like, the Giants are in every game. They're competitive. Like, last year, you couldn't even watch the Giants. This year, they're in every single game. You can argue the Giants could have potentially, they didn't lose. They lost like 4 games in the last 2 minutes. They can honestly have 6 wins right now.
Yep, they could. And they're still in it in the division.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys want to do some college football?
Let's do it.
All right, so a very interesting weekend. Alabama was off, but a lot of other teams were in action, including what many consider to be the game of the year between
Ohio State.
I'm sorry, your Clemson Tigers and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Notre Dame won that game in overtime. It was a thriller. No Trevor Lawrence, but what can you do? COVID. Other important games that went on. Indiana blew out Michigan, which was kind of a shocker. Ohio State with another blowout win. So there were some surprises. There were some games that kind of went the way people thought. So who do you guys have as your Heisman favorite? And then we'll talk a little bit about Michigan and Jim Harbaugh in a minute. But I want to hear your Heisman favorites to begin with.
Can I start this off?
We already know who.
Actually, yeah, go ahead on your rant because I know you want to do that too.
All right, so nothing to take away from Notre Dame. They're a very good football team. This may be the most complete Notre Dame team that we're seeing in a long time. The Notre Dame team that made the playoffs years ago, I didn't think that they were that good. This team is good. This team is different from that team. Now, as Aidan knows, I've told him this Clemson team was depleted heading into the game and during the game. The defense had only 1 starter. Their 2 starting receivers were out. 3 of their offensive linemen were banged up. There was no Trevor Lawrence. The team was banged up. That's why I was not confident heading into the game, other than, of course, it was in Notre Dame territory. But when you got a team like this that is as depleted as they are, you can't have confidence. And don't get me wrong, DJ Uiagalelei played a good game. I was impressed with what I saw from him, but I just still think, as a freshman, he does have some of his bumps. I mean, even last game against BC, he did miss some easy throws. I think he's going to gain more experience as the season goes by. However, Trevor Lawrence is going to come back next week. Not even next week. They got a bye week coming up. The week after. So I think as much as it's hurts to see Clemson lose as a Clemson fan, I don't think the season's done yet. They got to win out. They have to win the ACC championship. This Clemson team, when they are fully healthy, is better than Notre Dame. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, Dean, I totally agree with you. You're 100% right. This game, and I think I texted you this afterwards, it showed me that there are 3 teams at the top of college football, and then there's everybody else. You got Clemson, you got Bama, you got Ohio State in the top group, and then the rest of the teams are in another tier. If Trevor Lawrence was healthy, this game is probably a 20-point Clemson win, in my opinion. I thought it was very interesting. They let DJ throw the ball all over the place. He finished with over 400 yards. But I thought that was in part because they were really intent on shutting down Travis Etienne, and he didn't have a very good game. I mean, I think he had a late score, but for the most part,
he was awful.
Yeah, for the most part, he really didn't do anything.
Yeah,
I think that was the whole point of their defensive scheme coming into this game. Make sure we don't let them run the ball. Make this young quarterback throw it and see if he can make mistakes and possibly turn the ball over.
Right.
You know, not get touchdowns in the red zone. And that's really how they won the game. Clemson seemed to be the team trailing from behind most of the game. They didn't play necessarily well. And honestly, Notre Dame deserved this win. They were the better football team from start to finish.
I agree. Notre Dame deserved to win the game. Clemson kept it a lot closer than I expected, than a lot of people expected. But this is also a team that beat BC by 6 points the week before, and then came out and took Notre Dame to double overtime. So I don't know what changed between the last 2 weeks, if they just underestimated BC and it got to their heads. But that week actually spoke a lot more to me than this week did. Everyone was expecting Notre Dame to win. No one was expecting BC to win. And so it's even without Trevor Lawrence, even with Trevor Lawrence back, it's going to be a tough road. I think, honestly, I do think it's going to be a tough road for Clemson to make the playoffs.
Well, they have to win out. They have to win out.
The remainder, and they have to beat Notre Dame in the ACC title game. If they don't, there is not a chance that a two-loss team makes the college football playoffs, especially in a shortened season when Bama and Ohio State and Notre Dame too, if they win the ACC, all three of them are probably going to be going undefeated.
Yeah, I agree.
But Clemson has a lot of heart. They played incredibly, so kudos to them. Kudos to Dean. If we're talking Heisman pick, just because of the 2 missed games, I find it hard to pick Trevor Lawrence now. I think if he goes out and he plays to the level that he's been playing, he still is atop the league. Like he's still up there. But my pick is going to go to Justin Fields, just because he's going to have the full stat line.
No, I totally don't think so.
I
agree, Aidan.
And Aidan, you mentioned other teams. You even got Florida and A&M on the outside who've been playing incredible football. Yeah. Florida, who had a huge win this weekend over Georgia. Clemson's got to win out. I mean, listen, Stetson Bennett is not a good quarterback. I agree. However, Florida needed this game badly. And
no, they did. And Kyle Trask is very good, but I don't trust that Bennett kid whatsoever.
However, Kyle Trask is good. Kyle Pitts I think he'll be a very good tight end when he comes into the NFL. He's a very special player. Clemson's remaining schedule will be against Pittsburgh, Florida State, and Virginia Tech. So I think they're very capable of winning out. But
they're capable of winning out. The question is the championship game.
Yeah, the main question is Notre Dame. That's going to be the huge one. But my Heisman pick is going to be Mac Jones. Mac Jones is my Heisman pick.
It's not Wilson. It's not.
Now,
Wilson.
Of course, my sleeper is Zach Wilson from BYU. He's an unbelievable quarterback with a great arm.
They're incredible.
I mean, listen, he's exciting. BYU is in the top 10.
Love.
BYU is in the top 10 for a reason right now. And don't get me wrong, they're a solid team, but Zach Wilson, and he's going to be a first-round pick this year.
Yeah, I'm with Dean. It has to be Mac Jones. He's playing at a level that nobody else is touching right now, especially when you consider Justin Fields. The season's so new for Ohio State, and Trevor Lawrence has obviously missed games. There's only one pick here. It's Mac Jones.
Guys, it's going to be last year. He had one Heisman vote. It's going to be Sewell, the O lineman. He had one vote last year. He's going to build on that. He's going to get it this year.
I just think Justin Fields puts up numbers unlike anyone else. I don't think it can be taken from him. Mac Jones is going to give him a run for his money.
All right, on to Michigan just quickly. We'll do this for a second.
Michigan sucks, and I am happy.
Yeah, Michigan's terrible. We know that. Should Jim Harbaugh last the season, or should he just be gone tomorrow? Like, are we talking Adam Gase here, or are we talking, let him hang out for the last 2 games?
I think he's gone after this.
There's a lot of rumors about Harbaugh to the Jets, Noah.
I'd rather shoot me. Shoot me now.
Why?
Okay, Harbaugh is a great coach.
No,
I
he's
just
not.
don't think college
Harbaugh has had a ton of success in the NFL.
Harbaugh is a good coach in the NFL, but he's not meant for the college level. Listen, it wasn't really all him, although this may seem delusional. The Michigan defensive coordinator is not good. You saw Michael Penix of Indiana dot up that Michigan defense, left and right. But I think Harbaugh's on the hot seat. And for a guy that can't beat a top 10 team and can't get Michigan over the hill, there's no point in him no more.
Guys, he's paid all- he's paid all this
Harbaugh
money.
in what, 4 seasons, 5 seasons?
He's
No,
been
Michigan, he's been there
against
like
top
7
10
years already.
Has it been that long? Wow.
He left the
Well,
Niners in 2014. His
So
first year-
6 seasons.
Six seasons.
He has failed to beat Ohio State. He has failed to get Michigan into the playoffs, mostly because he has failed to beat Ohio State. And he's had some very good teams. But yeah, you're right. You guys, he can't get over the hump.
He's never been in a
can't beat
Big
top-
Ten title game. It's shocking.
Well,
He can't even beat top
it's
10
shocking,
teams.
but you have to consider who he's playing against. It's because of Ohio State.
Well,
They
then beat
always-
them one time.
they always-
There's no excuses.
Agreed. They have to beat him one time, but because it's impossible to get to the Big Ten title game without beating Ohio State. It's, I don't think it's that big of a problem that he hasn't won the Big Ten title. It's a bigger problem that he can't get past that one team, their biggest rivals.
Okay.
You talk about, in the NFL with the Colts and the Patriots. The Colts are still a great team, even though they never were able to, or rarely were able to get by the Patriots in the 2000s,
True. That's
Um,
true.
Michigan has had some great seasons. They couldn't get by Ohio State, and it cost them. Harbaugh's gone at the end of the season.
Aiden,
Okay.
it's not. I kind of disagree there, and
You
it's
guys-
not just Ohio State. They can't beat top 25s or top 10 teams. They couldn't beat Indiana. They can never beat Michigan State, as shown a week or two ago. This Michigan
always a
team is
struggle against
very
them.
inconsistent, and even with a guy like Shea Patterson, who many thought when he came to Michigan would be good. I thought he was an overrated quarterback, and I thought he
was okay.
underperformed. He underperformed for expectations. He underperformed.
I'm
on
with Dean. I
Michigan.
think the biggest issue that Harbaugh's had is he's never been able to develop a quarterback the right way.
that
I agree
and
with
just-
that.
He can't beat the
That
teams
was-
that he needs to beat.
It's funny because that when you look at Harbaugh when he was hired, that was probably his biggest strength.
Right, and it never happened here.
He developed
Yeah, he
Andrew Luck. He developed Andrew Luck at Stanford. And then he's in the NFL. He revitalized. He didn't revitalize. He saved Alex Smith's career. And
Kaepernick.
Kaepernick, yeah.
Or to
That's
Kaepernick.
why I like. That's why I like him. And also, he builds systems to support his quarterback. At least in the NFL. In the NFL, he went to 3 straight conference championship games. His worst season was 8-8. He got the best out of his players. I'm actually a fan of Harbaugh. If the Jets hired him, I wouldn't love it, but I wouldn't mind it. I'd give.
I'm
him
a fan of Harbaugh coming back into the NFL.
Yeah, I like
Me
him
too.
in the NFL.
There are
I
going to
think
be
he's a
some
good NFL
open.
coach.
There are going to be some open spots. The Jets are the most notable, but there's also going to be the Falcons and the Texans are going to be looking for teams.
He'd be great for Dallas, also.
Maybe Dallas.
Yeah, they're going to keep Mike McCarthy.
I think that's a mistake, but they should.
Well,
They shouldn't, but they will.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. Final segment. I'm going to do my all-time Laker team.
I'm excited for this.
Okay, so you guys ready
I
for
swear to
this?
God,
Wait,
no,
hold on,
if
what are
Lonzo
your-
Ball is not on your team,
I'm sorry. I didn't. He was my next guy. I didn't have a spot for him.
Okay, wait,
All
what
right,
are
no,
your
I'll take it.
like? I shared like what were your rules for this? Like, did you have any like certain rules? Like,
Okay,
did, like,
so my criteria were you had to do a lot with the Lakers. If your main part of your career came with the Lakers, then I was definitely going to really consider you. And I think that overcoming obstacles is definitely a big part of this. Also, what did you have to overcome to win titles? There's some guys who I'm going to put lower on this list just because they were playing in a league with 8 teams or whatever, and it just was easier to win titles then. So that's kind of what my criteria was. All right, so let me start with my starting point guard. Okay, everyone knows Magic Johnson. I think the greatest Laker ever, 5-time champion, the greatest passer to ever live. What?
second greatest Laker.
No. I mean, it's close, but I'll get to him in a second. I think the best Laker ever and best passer of all time, 5 championships. The game 6 that he had in 1980 in the finals where he played center was one of the iconic moments ever. So he's my point guard. At shooting guard, obviously, the late, great Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest scorers ever, one of the more iconic players to ever play this sport. Shout out to Kobe, shout out to Gigi. We miss you, and you belong right in this shooting guard spot with the Lakers' all-time starting 5. Small forward has to be LeBron James. There's no other option here. He not only is he the greatest player to ever live, but on top of that, I think the way that he has overcome obstacles since he became a Laker is really something to really be impressed with. He came into a team that had missed the playoffs for many years. They were really one of the worst teams in the sport. They couldn't get the coach right. Their front office was a mess. Rob Pelinka, nobody liked him. They couldn't get the players right. They didn't draft necessarily well. And after a year of dealing with all this, LeBron basically said, everybody stop what you're doing. Let's do it my way. I'm going to get the players that fit my system, guys that can shoot, guys that can defend, veteran players. We're going to bring in a coach that I sort of trust, some assistants that I trust, and we're not going to have all the internal strife and drama that we've had. And the next year they won the championship. So I think LeBron has to be at the small forward spot. Power forward, I'm going to do 2 centers in my front court, but that's just because how the game was back then. Kareem, the all-time leading scorer, has to be in the starting lineup. 6 championships in his career, 5 with the Lakers, 6 MVPs in his career. One of the greatest 5 players of all time. So he's in my power forward. And then at center has to be Shaq. The great center, one of the more unstoppable offensive forces we've ever had. 3 Finals MVPs and won 3 straight titles with the Lakers over that span where he was there with Kobe. Really one of the great dynasties in the history of the sport. So he's my center. On my bench, this is a loaded bench. Jerry West, one of the all-time 15 best players ever. 27 points he averaged in his career, which is just staggering. 14-time All-Star. He won a championship, and I think he would get a lot more credit in some people's eyes if he didn't lose so many finals. But this is kind of how it went back then. They lost to the Celtics a lot. Yeah, because I mean, if the Celtics didn't exist, this guy would probably have 8 or 9 championships, but he only has 1.
Go Boston.
Woo. All right, next, Elgin Baylor, another one who doesn't have Jerry West had 1 championship. Elgin Baylor never won a championship. But from a statistics standpoint, this guy is one of the great players we've ever seen. I think he's one of the more underrated players of all time. People don't talk about him, but he averaged 38 a game one year in 1962. I mean, that's insane. He averaged 27 for his career, double-digit rebounds almost every year. And the only thing that, like I said, hurts him is the lack of a title, lack of an MVP. But if he had that, he'd be a top 10 player by pretty much any measure. All right, next, Wilt Chamberlain played the end of his career with the Lakers, so he didn't play in his prime when he was averaging 50 points a game, but he did win 1 championship, averaged like 18 and 19 rebounds a game in his career there. 4 assists for a center is great. So did a lot in his 5 seasons, really 4 full seasons. 1 year he was hurt a lot.
Was he on the Lakers when he scored his 100-point game?
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah. No.
No, he was.
No, that was with the Warriors, wasn't it?
I think it was.
I don't think he was a Laker then.
I don't have the Lakers.
All right, keep going. I'll look it up.
Okay. Next is Pau Gasol. Really one of the more underrated players the last 20 years. A Hall of Famer in my eyes. I think most people would think that. Averaged 18 and 10 in his 7 years there. Won 2 championships. And I think one of the best things about Pau is that he's really responsible for changing the culture of the LA Lakers in the mid-2000s. They were great with Shaq. Then Shaq left. And in those few years between Shaq and then Pau, the Lakers were not very good. They weren't winning a ton of games, really missed the playoffs too. And then all of a sudden, Pau got there in 2008. They go to the finals that year, and then they win 2 championships the next 2 seasons. So Pau was really responsible for helping change everything and turn everything around for the Lakers at the end of the 2000s. Next is James Worthy.
Quick thing. Chamberlain, you were right. He was on the Philadelphia Warriors.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, next is James Worthy. One of the best third options in the history of the league.
Absolutely.
He was a Finals MVP in 88. He made 7 All-Star games, won 3 titles with the Showtime Lakers, and one of the great college players of all time at North Carolina. Next is George Mikan, one of the game's early stars. I was thinking about putting in a criteria where you couldn't play as a Minneapolis Laker on this list, but I decided to go with Mikan anyway. So he played with the Minneapolis Lakers for only a few years. His career was very short, but in those years, 23 and 13. So he was a superstar. Next is Jamal Wilkes, 2 titles in his 8 years with the Lakers. Averaged 18 points a game, made the Hall of Fame. People don't know that, but he made the Hall of Fame. So again, 15. I think I said this before. 15 players on the roster, so 3 more guys. Next would be Anthony Davis. I don't see a way I can leave him off. Really turned everything around with the Lakers. First year there, 26 or 27 a game, wins the championship. Has a historical finals performance. Probably LeBron's best ever teammate. I couldn't leave him off. He's just too talented. Next is Gail Goodrich. 19 and 4 assists in his 9 years as a Laker. Won a title in 72 with Jerry West in that backcourt. Hall of Famer, 5 All-Star teams. One of the better point guards of the 60s and 70s. And then the last guy, I couldn't really find a superstar that I wanted to put in, so I decided to go with one of the great role players that we've had in the NBA, and that's Derek Fisher. 5 championships with the Lakers. And he really never put up big stats. I mean, I think he only averaged double figure scoring a couple of years, but he won 5 titles, and Kobe Bryant trusted him as much as he trusted any teammate. Hit so many big shots in his career, and was really a key cog to the Lakers winning. Even though he didn't put up big numbers, he just did things that helped that team win games. And so with 5 championships, I had to get him on the list. And then for my head coach, Pat Riley, I was between Pat and Phil Jackson. I think you could make a case for either guy.
Absolutely.
But in Pat Riley's time, he
came more with the Bulls. I mean, he did great with the Lakers. Don't get me wrong, but I
just thought that Phil was more synonymous with the Bulls than I think Pat is with. Pat's more with the Lakers. So I put him there. He won 4 titles with the Lakers with the Showtime teams. They won to 7 finals in 8 years, which is a great stat there. And then 533 and 194 was his record. So he really won a ton of games in the regular season, and then put championships together for the Lakers too in that dynasty. So that's my all-time Laker team. It is really star-studded. It is crazy how many Hall of Famers have gone through that organization, and some of the best players we've ever seen have played in the purple and gold. So that's my team, and tell me what you guys think, Jack.
Yeah, I definitely like it a lot. I like you said, a lot of star-studded talent, a lot of Hall of Famers. It's really hard to say any team has in terms of all-time teams can hold maybe the all-time Warriors have a shot. That's pretty much only one.
You could put the Celtics.
And the Celtics.
Yeah. But the Celtics were dominant in the era. The Lakers have been dominant in every era, basically.
Yeah.
I saw you nod your head, Jack, when I said Derek Fisher.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. He's like one of those underappreciated Lakers. So I like that you put him on there. One question I do have for you though, because I know the way you like basketball. You are a fan of the analytics and all of that. The way you built this team, there's not a lot of shooting on this team.
No, there's not.
Very little.
But let me tell you, Jack, if you look through the history of the Lakers,
you just put it into Kareem and Shaq and just dominate.
Yeah, sure.
I just want to know
that's one thing. But there's not that much shooting in the history of the Lakers. They were always led by centers. So the history of Laker big men is really something historic.
That's what they're built on. I 100% agree with you.
I want to know how, in God's name, you think putting Kobe, Shaq, and LeBron on the same team is a good idea. Like,
I don't know,
Kobe
the most
and
talented
Shaq,
big 3 ever.
Kobe and Shaq, especially towards the end of their time playing together, did not get along. They played well, but they didn't get along. And LeBron James is going to come in there and make them pass to him and try and run that team. We all know it. That's what he would do. He would take the ball away from Kobe. He'd take the ball away from Shaq. And they both just gang up on him.
But imagine the passing in that lineup. You had the two best passes in league history in Magic and LeBron James, and being able to kick out to Kobe and then find those big guys and make the proper post passes inside for
but you think any of them are going to want to pass the ball away except for Johnson?
Yeah.
But there's only one ball, but it's an all-star team. What can you do?
I do agree with what Aidan said, though. The system would not work for this team because, like, for example, LeBron.
But it's an all-time team.
Yes, no, absolutely. I'm not saying that. In terms of, like, on the court, if they actually had to play together, you know what I mean? It's just I feel like it wouldn't work well because Kobe, LeBron, and Magic all need the ball. There's not much shooting, and like there's not going to be much space to drive the lane because you have Kareem and Shaq in there. I know, obviously, it's an all-time team. I'm just saying, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got you.
Now, of course, I like that Lakers team, but I don't know if you said him or not. Where's Wilt Chamberlain?
I said Wilt.
He said him.
He's the second guy off the bench.
Oh, I thought you had him in the starting lineup. I was gonna say, like, would you consider him or no?
Yeah, he's absolutely. He was 100% a lock on the team. I had my 6th man as Jerry West, and then you had Wilt and Elgin Baylor were the next 2 guys.
I'm saying, did you consider him like putting him in, or you just like Kareem and Shaq all the way?
No, because he only played there at the end of his career, just the last few years.
He was more of a Sixers guy,
40 or 50 points like he was earlier. So I had him on the bench.
I gotta say, in terms of lineup, in terms of scheme fit, I wouldn't start Kareem and Shaq. I mean, obviously you can. I would start either Power AD just to stretch the floor a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna get more flack for the AD selection, but I guess not.
No, you had him in your 3rd string. That's fair.
Fair enough.
If he's starting him, I would have complained, but you're 3rd string. I'll give you that.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to winners and losers. Aidan, you want to go first? I forget where you are today, but go ahead.
I'm winners this week, I believe. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you are winners.
Okay. I was gonna do my winner as the Saints, but I don't want to talk more about that. Come back to me.
All right, Dean,
All right,
go.
I'll go first.
Oh, Jack, go.
I'll go first. My winner. I don't mean to talk my own horn, but I gotta say, my winner is myself and Noah. We've had a nightmare dealing with Ithaca College. We have been moving from dorm to dorm, every place to place. Today, we finally closed our thing, or we got the lease. We officially have our apartment. And
Yeah, we do.
It's finally over. Boys, we have a place we can hang out when we're back at school.
You're
So
welcome anytime.
Yes, anytime, boys. Anytime. Super Bowl.
And you come do your laundry with us because we have a machine in our apartment. So come over.
Yeah, so that's there. Tomorrow, Stevie Moneybags Cohen's got his press conference. I'm excited for that. And next week, I'm so excited. This is the thing I'm most excited for. The Jets can't lose because it's their bye week. So I am just thrilled. I can just sit back and enjoy football and not have to just watch with disgust. So I am thrilled. Going to be a good week. I'm excited. All right.
My loser is Tack McKinley. I'm not sure what is wrong with this guy.
No, loser is the Falcons.
Well, you know what, though? He's not a very good player. So it's like you got to hold on to your job somewhere. He's going out and saying things about the team and tweeting, and all of a sudden they're like, we're done with you. We'll cut you. And it's not like he's a talented enough guy that has had enough success where he's going to get an automatic opportunity to play a big role somewhere else.
He 17
played,
sacks
he played a lot.
Seasons.
What?
He said something like 17 sacks in 3 seasons. I think he tweeted that.
Yeah, but he's never really proven much in the league on a winning team. I'm not sure he's going to get another opportunity right away. If he does, it'll probably be as a backup player, and he'll have to work his way up again. And he already had it nice with Atlanta. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of that. And I also wasn't a fan of Golden Tate tweeting about the Giants either. Or Golden Tate's wife, actually.
No. I think McKinley's going to get picked up super fast. I mean, he's a former first-round pick. He hasn't played like a superstar.
No, a Super Bowl contender could definitely use him.
But yeah, there are teams that could use a guy with his talent. Talk about like the Seahawks right now.
The Saints going after him, like an outside line, like a guy outside.
I don't know if the Saints would, just because we don't need that position right now.
Another depth, and also I'm just saying, like guys like Sheldon Rankins, they've had injury problems. D-line, so you can
maybe he will, but I just feel like it hurts his reputation as a good locker room guy. And I don't know. I just feel like he's going to start as a backup again. He's got to work his way up. It seems like the harder road when you already had it as a pretty decent player in Atlanta.
Hey man, if AB gets another chance, this guy will.
True.
So my winner, I did come up with one basically right after I said come back to me. I read this article the other day. I tweeted it out. It was about the WNBA and the Georgia Senate election. So my winner is the WNBA because of this piece. It was a beautiful piece, and it talked about how the WNBA heavily impacted the Georgia Senate race between Kelly Loeffler and Raphael Warnock, and then there was a third person running. Kelly Loeffler is a co-owner in the WNBA, and she spoke out against Black Lives Matter publicly, complained to the commissioner that they were protesting and incorporating these protests into the game. And obviously the players were not happy with that. So they threw all their support behind Warnock, boosted his polls up from 8% to 31%. And now he has the chance to go off in a special election, in a runoff against Loeffler, in a large part thanks to the WNBA. I would highly recommend giving that article a read. I tweeted about it just recently. If I remember, I'll put it in the description of this video. Great story.
Dean, let's finish up.
All right. My losers are, this is for you, Aidan, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for not only
losing with style.
The way that they lost is loser. The way that Tom Brady played is loser. The way that game went for them at a critical time in a critical divisional game is loser. So the Tampa Bay Bucs. And my other one is very biased. Russell Wilson. For a guy who was having an MVP year, I think now there's no front runner. I thought Russell Wilson was going to be the front running guy. Now Pat Mahomes, even Aaron Rodgers have a chance at the MVP race. I thought, yesterday Russell Wilson could have had an MVP day, but performance like that will hurt your resume.
I want to see Dalvin Cook get some love.
Dalvin Cook.
He was awesome. Awesome again.
He's awesome.
All right, that's going to do it for us here on Agree to Disagree. Another great episode with the boys. We'll be back on Thursday. We are going to interview Seth Cantor, an Ithaca College graduate. He works with the New York Boulders, a minor league team near where Jack and I live. He also does a lot of broadcasting. He's done FAN. He's done CBS Sports Radio. He's done a few other places. So he's very active in the New York sports media landscape, and Ithaca College graduate, as I said. So we'll be interviewing him on Thursday, and that episode will go up on Saturday on VIC 10:30 to 11. So make sure you listen to that. It should be fun interviewing him. He'll actually be our first ever guest on the show, so that's cool. And so yeah, make sure you tune into that. Make sure you watch this episode when it comes out. Follow us on all the various social medias, and that's it. Have a good week, everybody.